What is it?
Okay, first of all, it begins
Turbo lift. Well, I'm leaving for Florida, but I still got some repairs to do. I bought some new struts on eBay because I was tired of the junkyard ones that lasted a couple months. So I went on eBay and I bought some brand new ones from a guy in Colorado, and he sent me the right ones, and I put them on, and they lasted for about 2 weeks, and they just went blah. So the old struts, wherever I put them, had a little pin that I could put in to lock the strut, but I don't know where I put them. Plus, you needed 2 hands. You have to hold the hatch up with your head and put the little pin in. So I bought these brand new ones. I put them on, lasted a month, junk. So I emailed the guy 6 months later, and he says, no problem, I'll send you some new ones. So he mailed me some new ones, and he sent me the wrong ones, and it might have been my mistake because I went to his website and I found some for an older Hyundai. So would you believe that the older Hyundai uses a different mount? Where's the mount? Yep, the older Hyundai uses a ball and socket with a little spring. So I cut this off, but then it turns out you don't have to cut it off because it's screwed on to the end of the strut with a little brass nut that's captive inside this black plastic with a spring made in Turkey. They give you these little ball and socket nuts here, but I put them on the original bracket. I ground out the rivet, but look, there's no room for this to work. The other car must have a wider space here, the other older model Hyundai, which I did have in the past, but you keep getting newer stuff as the market dictates. So I try to ground the rivet off, and I try to put the ball and socket end on. Well, it was on. I just found out you could unscrew it after I ground it off. Anyhow, long story short, the ball and socket wouldn't work, so I welded my original mounts onto the new struts, right onto the threads that held that little brass nut, wherever that brass nut ended up. Normally you can't see that nut, it's inside, buried. You can actually see that, just a fraction of it. So I modified the new struts to fit these old brackets. When you buy the struts, the correct ones, it comes with a bracket built in. See how it's riveted on? So I ground that rivet off, but that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is cut this right off, zing, and then weld it onto the new strut. And it's hard to do because you got to clamp it on fresh metal, and there's not a lot of room. There's little plastic bushing there, and you can't melt the little plastic bushing, so you got to spray it right away, and it's a whole friggin' song and dance. I'm not going to show you how I make it because it's just, it's a Hyundai strut. Give me a break. What I will show you though in a few minutes is putting the step bumper style trailer hitch on my Suburban. And how I'm going to do that is very interesting. So, problem is, the old one mounted on the side. One bolt pivoted there and had a couple bolts. One there, and one here on a strap. There's the old hitch there. Entirely different system on this one. I prefer this one. It has a little step built into it, but of course now I have a step bumper, so I don't need this. But anyhow, I got it all painted up. And you can't put the step bumper on because the step bumper attaches to the side, and so does the old hitch. So this hitch attaches to the bottom. So there's one hole right there, but the other hole is right here. And you can't get to it because the gas tank is tight to the frame. There's a plastic shield on top. You can't stick the bolt in that hole and go backwards. But memory is a wonderful thing. I always think about that when somebody dies. All their memories just poof, fade. And what does a picture show you? Just a split second of their history. I took this trailer hitch off of a Suburban in a junkyard, and I was outside of San Francisco when I bought the black Suburban and I converted it to 3/4 ton springs. I bought this hitch, and it had a marking on it, which now of course is painted over. But when I was a kid, back when I was a teenager, 18, 19, 20 years old, that's 30 freaking plus years ago. My. Where was I? Oh yeah. There was a place down the road from where I lived that made trailer hitches on the spot. They made the flat bar ones, not the square tube ones. I don't think they did. These weren't as popular. I'll show you the type that they made. I gotta get this video done. I gotta get off to Florida. It's, what time is it? Leap day. It's 2:20 and the flight leaves at 8:30 or something. They used to make these kind of trailer hitches. They'd bend them right on the spot. I don't like those because you whack into them and they aren't as strong, and the square tube ones look a lot cooler. Some of those hitches I've had for 25 years. Never thrown anything away. That's why this place looks like such a junkyard, because it is a junkyard. Anyhow, so I remember going there once, and they made a trailer hitch for me, or whatever the case was, or modified one. But what they had hanging on the wall, and this place was friggin' spick and span. There was two brothers. They were big guys, all dressed up in their spotless coveralls. Everything was painted and clean, and everything was in its place. There was a place for everything, and everything was in its place. What they had hanging, remember, on a shelf or a wall or a rack, was all these bolts with the washers, plate steel washers welded onto the bolt, and they had a coat hanger welded on. They were all hanging like this, and a whole 30, 40 of them, whatever the number was, 10, 20, 30. And I said, what's that for? Well, now I know. 30 years later. Like I said, when you die, you lose all your memories. What it is you could stick the bolt through a little hole, a little access hole in the rear cross member, and you can wiggle it around until it drops through the hole, and you've got it attached with a little coat hanger. And then when you put the impact gun on it, it won't spin for two reasons. One, the impact gun spins real fast, and even if the bolt doesn't have any means of stopping it from turning, you can't stick an open-end wrench in there. There's no way it ain't getting in there. But